Welcome to Crazy Shit in Real Estate, a weekly podcast where I walk you through some of the wildest, most unbelievable stories you'll hear from the world of real estate. If you like real estate and you love crazy, this is the podcast for you. Before we get any further into this episode, I've got some information to share.
Oh, it's true. Real estate is super competitive and harder than you expected. That's why I created Leigh Brown University. It's everything you need to take you from point A to point whatever your goal is. You could be new to the business or a seasoned vet. I'll help you break through to the next level so that your professional life can look exactly like you desire. Enroll in Leigh Brown University today. I'll help you get there.
Can you share with us if there was a story, a human, a scenario that caused you to say, man, I can create a solution to that through this idea?
Well, I think really there wasn't one significant moment, but the reason that this was attractive and interesting from the beginning when I started having these conversations with people about this was as a homeowner. I mean, I'd been a homeowner in the UK since I was in my early 20s. I think I bought my first house when I was 21. Sold it a year later for twice the amount I paid for it. And I thought, this is easy. Subsequent transactions weren't quite as good as that.
Yeah, that's right. Spoiler alert, people. We're not guaranteeing that your first house that you buy at the age of 21 will double in value, but we don't poo-poo the luck, but don't expect it. But carry on.
But it was, again, I just caught there was this sort of wave of a buying interest, so it literally, I bought it for 27,000, sold it for like mid-50s, couldn't believe it. So I'd been a homeowner all my adult, not adult life. I don't think I am an adult yet, but we can always live in hope. So for 30 something years, but again, biggest problem that I'd ever had was there are times as an entrepreneur when the cash isn't flowing in. And so you think, well, actually, I've got this house. It's gone up in value. There's tons of equity in there now because but how do I get it out? So I'd always had to go back to the bank and they're checking your credit score and you're crossing your fingers and then you get the note that says, yes, you've been approved. So you go, yes, yippee, I've been approved for someone to lend me more money. And you just think, well, that's all, back to front. So you increase your debt, your mortgage goes up, and you get the capital that you need, which was actually yours anyway. So all of these things are things that I went through as a homeowner. And when we were sort of discussing how we could create a large-scale program to address that problem, it was like, well, yeah, it is a problem. And I want to do something about it because there's nothing better when you're trying to create a business than to find a solution to a big problem. And so it was driven. The reason I wanted to do this was because I really and still do feel that it is a massive problem, not just in the US, but everywhere that I've ever been, where houses go up, but the wealth that you're supposed to have is locked in the bricks and mortar of your home. And guess what? The only way as a residential owner that you can get your hands on it is to go back to the banks and beg that they please, will you lend me some money? So the sort of rebel without a tie part of my character loves the idea of, creating some sort of disruptive solution to that. But also the experience that I've had in building businesses is, well, it's not going to work unless you're actually solving a problem. But this really does solve a problem. So, the human story is the combination of all of those things. It's something that I really wished that I could do because I know that as a homeowner, I would have done that. I would have bit the guy's hand off to his ankle if that was offered to me.
So going back in your earlier years, obviously, most people do have to entail some kind of debt to get their first piece of real estate. And we refer to that in positive ways and think about it as leverage. But in reality, as you said, it is debt and you owe it back. So you were 21 years old when you bought your first property. How in the world did you make that happen at 21? Because right now we're in a world where people throw up all kinds of excuses. But as we know, there's a way through if you're determined to find it. What was your Did you save money with the second job to get the down payment? Were you doing seller financing? What was the secret sauce?
No, it was a combination of the bank of mum and dad who. So the deposit I remember was £1,368. For some reason, that number sticks in my mind. So, but at that time, that could have been $1 million. But it's not a huge amount of money. So it was a 5% deposit. So the value of the home was like, mid-20s. So we had to put 5% down. We could get a 95% mortgage. And I had a job. I was working at that point. So I'd left university. I was working for Pitney Bowes, selling, franking machines and this new thing called a fax machine, which was incredibly difficult to sell because when you're trying to sell a fax machine, the person says, well, who am I going to fax? Because no one else has got one.
Oh, you're enjoying this little clip? Well, the rest of the story is available on any of your podcast apps. Just go search for and subscribe to Crazy Shit in Real Estate with Leigh Brown.